mean, there's a lot of corners in the Fender, and I think that's why it's challenging, right? So you got like corner here. This is challenging, or can be. This is challenging right here. And then all of these, there's corner, 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 corner. So I mean, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 corners. That is a lot. Let's get started. So we're gonna go ahead and hydrate it. I might need a hand, so we'll wanna just spray it all down so that you get rid of the static. Hydrate a little bit of your fingers, just a little bit of contact with 1, 2 fingers, and then have the other person hold it. And before they do all that, go ahead and start hydrating. And as they do that, before they take it all the way out, they're gonna hold the corner right there. Okay, and then you're just gonna help me lay it down. It's already hydrated. Just do your best. Watch the bottom. Boom. Perfect. And this one is okay though. See, as long as it's hydrated, it's okay. Like there's not really an issue. And really the order of install is very, very similar to, actually it's exactly almost the same, I think, as our gloss kit or matte kit. But you want to do here, go all the way out across here, and then come back down. So this one has quite a bit of edge right here. All right, so you can see right here, plenty of corner right here, and then this one goes all the way in. Plenty of material right there. Okay, we're gonna go all the way. Plenty of coverage all around. Get this down, this little, and I want it right to that bumper right there. And once you do that, look how it naturally just kind of plays really nicely right there. So it's perfect. Oh man, getting old. I might probably put a little less stretch on this one in the final design. The reason why I did that is I do want it to be tight all around right here. This actually folds over all those edges because you're creating tension from top to bottom right here. So that's kind of why I did that. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is focus on this line right here. Okay, make sure you're spraying on top of it, or you're just moving all this water from that body line right here down. All right, so I got my first bubble there. It's fine. Let's see if I could just get it out. You see, just go really fast like that. Another body line right here. Just want to make sure I'm really getting into that line right there. Okay. And then I'm just gonna deal with that later. Look at this line. Perfect all around the edge. I like how much there is there. And then you're just gonna start going out. Exit point. And remember, I worked on that line right here. So now I can actually work my way out. Okay, you see how I'm kind of working in body lines? We're basically going to do the same thing that we did, which was body line. Basically getting some of this water out. Remember, this is the tack. Don't worry too much about that yet. Autopilot right here. We're going to cut it out later. This was tacked, so go away from it. And then since we're here, let's get rid of this. You could use some hot water, and what it does is it relaxes some of that tension actually. And then use some tack right in there. And then what that does is, one, it relaxes the film. But two, it'll allow you to just kind of distribute it, just like that. Nice, okay. And since I already sprayed tack, focusing on now the next line, which is right here, and just going down. All right, I want to go ahead and do the top part. I don't want that sitting around for too long. I've got a couple fingers that are starting to come back down. And when I say fingers, guys, I just mean wrinkles. That's the, I guess, the pro term. We call them fingers. But basically, I'm just kind of getting it all out. You'll see that some areas, it wants to kind of continue to just pop up. No problem. We're going to do the same thing. But man, what a beautiful color. Love it. Kind of reminds me, this is Sinanju. If you're a Gundam fan, it's basically the red robot, right? I don't know if you guys are, but definitely grew up watching that a little bit. All right, so if you notice the behavior of this, right? I'm basically, as I feed it the Tack solution, it stays down, right? So that's kind of like the workflow right here, right? So part of the reason why is I probably needed a little bit more stretch in that area. So it's bunching up, but there's a threshold of how much, at what point you can get rid of and at what point you cannot get rid of. And one of the things, as I did the other side, I definitely added a little bit too much material all around here. It looks great. I mean, look at that. But it's unnecessary just because it gets a little bit harder and it gets caught in certain areas. I'm very careful around a lot of the edges. Bubble right here. See that? Oh, it filled up, which is okay. No worries. So I want to go ahead and start sealing some of the smaller fingers. These are going to be really easy because if you look at them, they're small. They're nothing crazy. So all you're going to do is do it a little bit at a time. So just kind of hold it down. Look at that. Okay. Kind of do this little shimmy, I guess. You hold it and then kind of go sideways. Distribute that tension a little bit more. That's exactly what you're doing. If you notice, I kind of do this side thing like that. Then just really make sure that I have all of these edges completely down. And I do it about like 3 to 4 inches at a time. Little by little, and I always get better results. So remember, I kind of doused it with that Tack solution. And after that, even though I trimmed it, it's still deep enough where you can go all the way around that area. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the autopilot. So this is actually hot water, like piping hot water. And what this does is, you can actually see it. It starts to, and look at the hydrophobicity. We're basically just loosening it up, right? And then from here, you can actually just create a little hole. And I like pushing this bottom part down first. That's just me though, okay? And the reason why is I think it has a lot of tension right into that area. And then I start doing this and I get that deep crevice down. And then next for me is this area. A lot of tension right here. So I've kind of tried to bring this down, and you can see it's a lot of tension right there. All right. Okay. Part of the reason why it's not coming down is I don't have enough Tack solution. I'm gonna go ahead and lift this up. Go ahead and go with my hot water. And then I'm gonna use my finger right here. Just feed it into it. And I actually just wanna feed into it instead of like stretching or dragging too much. And you can see, once you do that, just make sure that this one from the top. Okay, so I got some tension right there. Where's some of that Tack? Continue to push that tension out. And that is how you do the autopilot area. Okay, and oh, you can, ow. All right, so you can go a lot less. You could do a template and stuff. And so ours is gonna be a template. Like, you don't have to go this close, right? Because when you look at the coverage of the autopilot that sits right there, it doesn't sit right here. You have about about a 1/4 inch around it. So when you do that, you relieve even more tension. That's done, and really the next part now is just kind of waiting, but you can see that all these areas are ready to be folded over. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just basically gonna move on. I'm gonna let some of these areas just sit. So we're day 2 and we got a lot done, but we are gonna show you how to finish this up. And I think the corners are a little bit different because they do present some challenges around, you know, how to actually cut the corners and so on. So this is a really good example right here. This is a pretty aggressive corner. And what you want to do first is kind of just shape it. Is just try to push it down as much as you can. And you'll start getting these fingers right here. And once you get to this point, what you want to do is use a torch, a high temp torch. And basically, you're burning the memory. And what I mean by that is this PPF is actually memory based. So it will remember where it was and it'll try to squeeze back in. But when you burn it in high temp, this is why it's important to use this torch. I actually go a little bit less material, and you don't want so much material that goes underneath because it's gonna fail. PPF has a lot more weight than vinyl, for example, so it's gonna pull that back a little bit. And then this part, you can actually use a heat gun, but I'm not having to because it's completely dried, and I just want to make sure that it's actually all the edges right here. There's no bubbles at all. There might be air pockets, or you know, even and if you notice, I'll show you why my Fender is so loose like this, right? And I can actually go underneath it, but that's a lot of coverage all the way up to here, and it actually shortens up a little bit, and that's actually exactly how I want to do it. Mainly because there's just a lot of room right here underneath this daytime running lights, so I can do that. Again, just making sure this line is super clean. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay. I'm gonna use a little bit more of a aggressive approach, and look at that. I'm just getting under there. There's actually a bolt right here. This is a 10 mil. You could loosen that if you want. You don't always have to, but sometimes some bumpers can be tighter than others. You actually don't want too much material here. Over time, with it does this. And sometimes you'll see in a vinyl, it'll like start to rub, and it'll create a little, it'll start lifting certain parts. It kind of looks like little dots around that area. So I actually prefer putting less and then the right amount for this area. So I might actually trim off certain bits. I don't want too much material. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and see how much I can push in. So this is kind of like the vinyl part where you can just use some heat and it'll just go down a lot easier, but it's completely dry. So you can see I have zero issues kind of bringing this down. Main thing for this, guys, is the same thing that I've been saying, is you don't want to bridge anything, right? So you don't want it to basically add unnecessary tension. So honestly, I'm just going to use my finger right here because this is a soft edge. So what I just did is I just angled it up a little bit so it can go right into there. Just like that. And now this can just fold over, corner first. And look at that, all the way to the bottom. And now you can see there's a lot of tension right there. Just want to make sure that I start right there with the high tension. I'm going to go ahead and start focusing on this side. So it's kind of, you can use a wrap glove as well. It's a great time to use a wrap glove. But you can see quite a bit of material, and look at all that. So it creates some tension, but you can see it naturally wants to fold over now. But now there's actually no fingers. When I feel it in the back, no fingers whatsoever. All right, so here's the secret sauce over here. So this area is actually quite difficult. If you look at it, it has a lot of very, very tight crevices. So this is my hack. I think a lot of rappers already do this. There's actually a 10 millimeter right here underneath. You do need an extension for that, but check this out. I can actually move it in and out quite a bit. So it allows me to really get in there without having to struggle that much. So since we're already here, I'm gonna go ahead and tackle this little corner and kind of how I do it. Same thing like I've been doing most corners. I'm gonna just kind of feed it in first. I'm gonna go ahead and start shaping it into that corner. and you can see it starts to finger right there, but look at that corner now, right? So that's what I'm saying. You actually want a little bit less material because it's gonna struggle to stay. It might finger like that, and then you wanna hit some with heat. And when you do it with heat, it basically rounds it out, kills the memory, and then you're good to go. I'm gonna do some heat. Basically at this point, all of this is dried. So this is basically, if you're a vinyl installer, you want to make sure your line is good right here. And then you could just use a vinyl squeegee to push it all down. And that is fantastic. So that's pretty much it for the Fender. That's a lot of corners. I'm tired. Gonna give it a break. We'll see you in the next panel.